Hello, everyone, and welcome to my Deep Breathing podcast. Today, we would like to focus on deep breathing. My name is John Schnoz, and today I'm going to try to inhale and exhale regularly with some of my listening audience. I've brought today a guest speaker in here, Mr. Not John Schnoz. Hello, Mr. Not John
You
Schnoz.
need wasabi!
That was unexpected.
If you want to breathe deep, you got to eat some wasabi.
Wasabi makes me cough. I think I'm allergic.
Okay, horseradish.
I don't eat anything made of horses.
All right, Vicks Vapor Rub.
I don't have anything to do with people named Vic. What is your name?
I quit. I'm out of here. You're too difficult to work with. All right, welcome everybody. The real podcast is not on breathing, although it may randomly come up in some sort of
got ready.
safety.
We were like, the real safety podcast is, and I was like,
not on breathing.
It didn't happen.
It is on all things occupational safety, how not to die at work.
That's the goal.
Yeah, and it's a wide range of topics, from getting sucked into a machine by getting shot by an active killer, because most of those happen at workplaces.
I really thought you were going to say getting shot out of a machine.
That is a workplace exposure.
sucked into a
Most
machine
of those
versus-
people who get shot out of cannons, that's their profession.
Right.
To actually get paid to do that. There's
Well,
somebody's
yeah,
employee. They
we're
might be an
warning you.
independent contractor, though.
Yeah, we're warning you not to get shot out of a machine, though.
They're probably 1099.
Right?
I wonder if they have a union on cannon
Cannon people?
shotter outer duders.
What about that one guy who used to get shot by a cannon? Remember, he was on the cover of that Matchbox 20 album. He was had,
with
like,
the big
the most
ball
indestructible
going in
gut.
his stomach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that dude was intense.
Yeah.
I wonder what kind of job. You think OSHA actually had anything to say over that guy? He made money by getting shot by a cannon.
If you think about it, the range of occupations. Now, we try to keep this PC, but in California, there is an industry where they videotape adults doing intimate acts.
Yeah.
It's an industry.
Right.
And they are paid employees.
Okay.
And they are required to wear PPE, but they don't. And OSHA doesn't bust them. What's up with that?
I don't know. I don't know how you got there from getting shot by a cannon.
It's weird occupations.
It is a weird occupation.
It is an occupation. They're getting paid. It's a professional production. They're an employee.
I don't know, but for how common that is and how long that's been around, I would definitely say it's weirder to say that for a profession, I get shot by a cannon.
Well, think about professional athletes. They're,
Yeah.
I guess they're not employees, but they get injured. OSHA
Contract paid
doesn't
to
bust
play.
them.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
What
anyway,
they do for
what's
living
what's
is
our
dangerous.
show name? We are the
Evil Safety Dudes.
All right, so today we're super excited. We got a guest speaker in the house.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's going to be a cool topic.
I think it's gonna be a fun day.
It's almost a military theme, because James was military as
Oh,
well.
yeah,
We didn't
James
get
was
into
military.
military a lot, and today we're going to really focus on it.
Yeah.
But before we go into today's topic on military safety versus civilian safety, what's new, AJ? What you been up to?
Honestly, not a whole lot. Been about the same as normal. However, I did have a really fun thing happen. My nephew's visiting from Rapid City, so that's awesome. Love the kid. He's probably one of the coolest people I've ever met in my whole life. And my mom was just excited to have him in. So,
Next to me, right?
yeah.
I'm a cool kid, aren't I?
Right. I never thought to put you in the cool kid category.
Okay.
But, hey.
All right. Fair enough.
My mom made an entire cake and just have him over for dinner once.
Can you eat the cake? Was it gluten?
Yeah, it was gluten free. My mom's
Awesome.
celiac like me, so
cool.
yeah, so it's super easy. But anyways, then after it was done, she was like, "Yeah, I can't leave this here, so you got to take the whole cake home."
Yeah, it's always like, oh man.
I know. I was like, "Oh shoot!"
I think we could do that.
I'm
for
so
you, Mom.
sorry, that.
We're such good children.
Can't believe we got to put you out like that.
Yeah.
Take the whole cake. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's been a great week. I've had cake every lunch, every dinner.
Nice.
Yeah, it's
Homemade
been
cake.
fantastic.
Gluten free. That would be special.
That's basically all I've been about. How about you?
Because you can't just get
No.
gluten free cake.
I mean, you can, but it always comes in pre-made at some dedicated gluten-free place from somewhere else, and then always comes in
it's not
frozen and
fresh.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very
Okay.
very few places. Well, because the gambles, it's too hard. Anytime you make anything in a kitchen here, the flour just goes everywhere. So then they warn people, and they're like, "We're not gluten-free, but we do have a gluten-sensitive option." And then still
Okay.
you're hardcore diet
To do gluten free, you'd almost have to have a separate kitchen.
pretty much.
Okay.
It gets
All right,
rough.
fair enough. I have, you know, I took a little lull in heavy lifting, you
Nice.
know, not intentionally. I just, I talked about a while ago. I just kind of went through some allergy thing and I was just zapped. So
Yeah.
I didn't want to quit lifting. So I just wasn't loading up,
Sure.
But then I started again and I didn't lose like my max weights.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I
There
was
you go.
happy about that. I was able to throw up what I was.
You were
putting
able to
up.
throw up. Stop
Yeah,
throwing up at work.
I was able to put up what I was.
Did you get
even
out
though
your
I took
bloodborne pathogen cleanup kit? And
Oh, not for myself. I wasn't worried about my own bloodborne pathogens, and there was no blood in my vomit.
we teach
I
them.
currently don't have an ulcer,
If it's wet and it's not yours,
but
don't
it's
touch it.
yeah, but it was mine.
It was yours. You were playing with
Anyway,
it.
all right. So we've done personal updates. I'm looking at our show format. We are at the introduction time.
Yeah.
Now, most people cannot say my name.
Okay.
They just can't. Like, you work with me, so you could say it.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm sensitive to botching last names. So let's bring
That's
in
where you were
Mr.
going.
Ross.
We'll just
And-
say Ross.
And Ross, what is your last name, sir?
It is Weatherford.
That's an easy one.
Easy.
But
could
I
do
would have
that
said
one.
Weatherford.
But that's Weatherford. That's like two normal words.
Right. I would have said it wrong. I would have been like, Mr. Weatherford. He would have been like Weatherford. I would have
There,
been like,
there
oh,
are
shoot.
some people that do say it your way.
Okay.
Right.
But that's not
I
the
like
right way.
I like emphasis on the Ford. 'Cause
Yeah.
It is F-O-R-D.
Okay.
Cool.
I mean, that makes it's
Are
your
you a
name.
Ford guy?
Like I drive a Ford F-150. I
Nice.
don't drive a Ford F-150.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
All right, cool, man. So we're gonna pick your brain today. We're very happy you came on our podcast. It's not often that we get to talk to somebody with vast military safety experience.
I don't know. I think we're gonna have to change gears and instead talk about his Ford F-150 for the rest of the day. I'll be like, hey,
AJ's not a Ford guy because he has a Camaro.
well,
Don't get him started on Camaro versus Mustang. It's an entirely different podcast.
my favorite thing that in the world I've ever built is a Ford. But because it is the favorite thing I've ever built, I also know how awful Ford is.
Was that your LTD?
Yeah, my LTD. Well, the
Okay.
460 I still have. I got the
Okay.
460. I got the transmission from it. I got the 9-inch rear end. And all of my experiences. I built the 400. I've built the 283. I built the 460. No, Ford is you don't want to do it.
We are easily sidebarred, by the way.
Yeah.
So just
It's a good
Well,
time.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
There's not a more beautiful car than Eleanor though.
Oh, I disagree. The GT500, beautiful car. It's gorgeous, but there are far more beautiful cars.
And I'm lost just for the sake of me learning something new, which I already planned on today with military stuff. But what's an Eleanor? I'm not a car guy.
Eleanor, you seen the movie Gone in 60 Seconds?
Yeah.
The
Okay.
last car
Okay.
in that movie that they have to get is Eleanor,
Okay.
and it's a Ford Mustang.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I do remember that.
It's
That
a-
was
yeah.
his like dream one he could never get. It was just
Right.
out of reach.
And then he ended up smashing it when he tried jumping the bridge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they wrecked like
Yeah,
so
loser.
many mock-ups of that car making that movie.
Yeah. All right. So now tell us a little bit about your background as far as in the military, what you were doing there.
Okay. So I joined the military right after high school. Air Force, of course, the best branch there is. And then my first 11 years, I was a ground equipment mechanic, which made me basically a jack of all trades. I was doing hydraulics, air conditioning, heaters, hydraulic test stands, bomb lifts, basically anything and everything that is used by the crew chiefs to work on the airplane.
Okay.
So that included diesel generators, turbine generators, light carts, and some other various pieces of equipment. So after 11 years or probably after about 6 years, I started taking some college classes, learning about automation and industry, and I decided I needed to find a job that wasn't that couldn't be automated.
Okay,
you go.
that's fair enough.
Right. So,
Yeah.
well, one thing that happened was that we got a new piece of equipment. It was an air compressor that the previous version had like an engine, a compressor, and 4 wires.
Okay.
And that was basically just to get it started. And then we got this a new version of it, and it came with a circuit card. No reason to have a circuit card. So then combined with what I was learning in college classes and mechanics being computerized and automated, I needed to find something long term that couldn't be automated. I wasn't really sure what that was.
What's a circuit card? Because you already lost me. Is it something that makes it programmable?
Right.
Okay.
And so things
All
are
right.
programmable. So inside your computer, there's a lot of circuit cards.
So instead of it went from being a simple on-off
Right.
to now it had all these like settings.
And I can hook it to a
Exactly.
computer and make it
and-
automatically come on at a certain time. Maybe.
So, and then continuing through my classes and stuff like that, I decided that I needed something different.
right.
So as I was at a couple different points and different bases throughout my career, I was a unit safety representative.
That's a title I haven't heard before. Unit Safety Representative.
Right.
Break that down for us.
So in the Air Force, we have, so it all starts at like headquarters Air Force, and then after that there's the numbered Air Force, and then there's the wing and the group, the squadron, and then each squadron is broke up into different flights.
Okay.
So then those flights within a squadron, so like in my maintenance experience or my time in maintenance, I was part of an equipment maintenance squadron or a maintenance squadron. So then with that, you have like hydraulics, and you have all of the back shops, like metals technology,
Sure.
or fabrication shops, and my shop, the equipment maintenance shop. So then each one of those shops in that squadron would have a representative who did safety for that shop.
Oh, so there's like several of you.
So those people were the unit safety representatives.
Unit Safety.
And then they had so those were the flight level.
Okay.
The one at the squadron level was the unit safety representative.
So kind of in the civilian world, we got like a safety coordinator. You know, they may not know much about safety, but they have a list that they know they have to get done. I got to call in a safety person to do this class. I have to make sure this person's doing that. And then you got like safety manager, and they work under a safety director. But in the Air Force safety, what was the kind of hierarchy there on that?
So you had at the unit level, you had so at the shop you had a flight person.
Okay.
And I don't really think that there is in the civilian world. I don't think you have that.
Okay.
At the next level, you would have like the unit safety rep, and
Okay.
that could be. And you don't really have, and from what I've seen, you don't really have that in the civilian world either. So
Kind of missing.
then the next level up from that
Okay.
was the wing level safety, and that was the safety office. That's where all your safety professionals worked.
All right.
Was at the wing level.
Wing safety?
Right. So they were responsible for the safety of the entire base.
Okay. Not just wings.
Not
Because it sounds
no,
like wing
not
safety.
just chicken wings. Not
yeah,
just chicken
it
wings.
just sounds like they
So-
got to make sure the wings are good.
So to put
but-
that into civilian terms, you have a manufacturing facility.
Okay.
They have a safety manager. That's where I worked.
Okay, so you were kind of on that overarching level. There was a couple levels under you, but you were like in the, I don't know, kind of the middle as far as the military was concerned.
Well, not to begin with. When I was a unit safety rep.
Okay.
Right, so you started down, you worked your way to the
So I
top.
started as a unit safety rep, but it's not that easy. So I was in a job. I was in a maintenance job, and I was a unit safety representative. So I was helping the safety office implement the safety rules and, and the guidance that we had to do and we had to follow as a mechanic. So doing that role and then working with the safety people looking for another job for long term, safety is one thing that can't be automated.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you could have a drone flying around looking at people,
Well, maybe someday they'll have like robots.
but somebody's got to look at the screen on the camera of the drone to see what they're seeing.
No,
Right.
man, we're going full, Isaac Asimov. It's going to be like robots. They're going to be like inspecting
Well,
things.
RoboCop,
It'll be good to go.
put out the cigarette. You know,
But he
gonna
was a
shoot,
guy.
He was going to shoot you. He was an android.
He was a guy who got turned into a cyborg.
Yeah, so I agree. I think that would be pretty far off in the future.
Yeah, it's gonna
till
be a
they
minute.
Automate robo safety cops.
So I do have a couple questions.
So
So switching out from military, you know, obviously they have a lot more structured safety versus how out here it's kind of like, honestly, I feel like a company is lucky if they actually start investing in and then installing safety people. So like,
You install safety people? Like
Well,
you
yeah.
bolt them down to the floor?
for sure, I mean, they can't run away.
You just follow the manual.
You reduce this to equipment.
Proper
AJ.
installation of your safety person. But
automated
that
safety
transition
person.
then from military to civilian, like, you know, we have, I want to, I guess where I'm driving it is we have that very clear cut, you know, we got our construction, our general industry, which is where our most common stuff meets. When you guys are in the military, what was your overarching safety rule? Did you follow OSHA construction, OSHA general industry?
Well, let me get into that.
Okay.
After I finish my background.
Okay.
Oh, there's
yeah.
more.
Yeah.
So, so I was in this maintenance job, and in the Air Force, you can't just switch jobs as you want. So
Sure.
I had to be released from one job and then be able to get into another job. So every year they send out a list.
That's different from civilian world.
Right.
For
'Cause
sure.
You could just quit.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So every year they put out a list of jobs that need to be filled.
Okay.
And then they have their career fields that are that need manning, and then they have their career fields that can lose manning, or can afford to lose some people.
Or womaning.
Jeez.
Yes. So
That was an ultimate dad joke just stepped
All
into
right.
the chat for
yeah,
that one.
Okay.
absolutely. So it kind of lined up for me to be able to
Nice.
switch from being maintenance into safety.
So you
And I
can be
mean,
denied though stepping out of your position. They could just
You
say,
can-
"Nope,
right.
we're not going to let you step out."
absolutely yes.
Oof.
And then I would have been stuck as a
So even if the job that you want and qualify for is open, they're just like, "Nah, we just want to keep you where you're at."
yeah, you don't always get what you want.
I
in
mean,
the
that
military.
happens on the civilian side too. If it's you're in the same company and you want to go to a different position, they can
Right.
pick someone else.
Yeah.
But I mean,
you know.
yeah, that's
last
still,
year I applied for a job and they picked somebody else. It was a job I really wanted to, but
But you
So
got
that-
this one in the military. They let
right.
you transfer.
So that transition from being a mechanic to a safety person was really, really tough,
sure.
because I'm used to being on my feet, turning wrenches,
Okay.
always going every day, all day long.
Right.
And then I go to an office,
Right.
and then I have a computer and I have a desk, and I have to write reports, and
Yeah.
that was really, really tough. It took me a couple years to
Yeah, that'd
make
be a
that
transition.
But I always respect a safety guy. You know, in the industry, they say that came from his tools, because you know what it's like to be in the trenches. You know
Right.
what it's like to look
Yeah.
at no safeties around and do it. You know what it's
Exactly.
really like. So it's hard for them to pull one over on you because you were them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that's a good foundation for safety.
So I have a very good mechanical background, and I made the transition into safety. My last 9 years in the military was working in the safety office, where I just basically started
Wing
as
safety.
Yes, I was in the wing safety office.
You made it to the big leagues
right.
then.
Right.
So then,
That's cool.
right. So basically, to put it into civilian terms, we were all we were all safety professional in there, but we didn't. We just have like people who are in safety, and then we had for the office we had somebody who was a superintendent.
Okay.
But
Makes
we
sense.
didn't have titles like we did have a safety manager
Right.
who was overall responsible for that, and then we also had a chief of safety.
Ooh,
who was-
chief of safety. That's my new title.
So then,
Chief of safety.
Chief
Right.
of safety.
I like
so
it.
then, so basically, I was a safety specialist,
Okay.
and then worked my way up to a safety manager.
Cool.
So, but then some bases they have a civilian safety manager, and some bases they have a military safety manager.
What do you need a civilian safety manager for?
Just continuity.
Like, I'm lost. Are they
So
still looking at the same people, or are they babysitting contractors?
No, they manage the safety office. Oh, that they manage the safety office, and the people, the military people, work for them.
Okay.
Nice.
All right. So,
But then there was also, we had occupational safety,
okay.
we had flight safety,
Wow.
and then we also had weapon safety.
Yeah, yeah.
There you
Definitely.
go.
So
That's
those
where
were
Aaron
all
was.
separated.
Yeah.
Those were all separate.
I always like talking about, weapons. Or if I'm doing an NRA class, firearms. Because,
Right.
that's part of the other thing I do is security side. But don't know if we'll get into that. But since you brought it up.
Heck yeah.
So was it super, like, bureaucratic? Like, I'm this safety person, so I can't talk about that safety? Or was there any firearm safety or weapon safety that bled into your safety position? Or
No, it was 3 separate offices.
Right, it makes sense.
So the weapons people who were doing weapon safety, they were not safety professionals.
Okay,
The people
Okay.
doing flight safety were not safety professionals.
okay,
They were people who are crew chiefs on the airplane and pilots on that fly the
Gotcha.
airplane, who were in the safety office for a year or two, and then they went back to their career field.
okay.
For the weapons side, it was people who built the bombs.
Oh, wow.
And people who loaded the bombs onto the aircraft, or missiles, or rockets onto the aircraft, that were doing weapon safety for a year or two, and then they went back to their career field.
Oh, okay.
So they were not an actual career field. Occupational safety was an actual career field that you had to retrain
Okay.
into, and that was your job for the rest of your time in the military.
Is that the similar occupational safety to civilian side? Like, you're worried about back safety, respiratory protection, hearing?
100%.
Okay.
I think
Nice.
I think military safety was actually harder
Okay.
than military safety,
Okay.
civilian safety.
Like, give us an example.
So, civilian world they have policies.
Right?
Every company. Everything is based on the OSHA standards and regulations.
Gotcha.
So then the Department of Defense had an instruction.
Okay.
So that they had an instruction that said, and that went out to all of the branches of the military, that says you will have a safety program,
Okay.
basically.
So you got
and then-
OSHA rules, and DOD's got their own safety rules.
Right.
Wow.
So then the next step down, the Air Force has their rules.
Okay. So 3 sets of regs
So
so
then
far.
now we have Air Force instructions.
Okay.
And then at the Air Force level, you have these instructions. These are the basics, and it's written based on the OSHA standards, and then we can add, the Air Force could add to what the OSHA standard was, but they couldn't take away from that.
Okay, that makes
Okay.
sense. So,
Yeah.
like, in the civilian world, what I'm gathering, help me out with this analogy. So you're you're a subcontractor, and you have your company rules, and then you get hired by a general, and that general's got some site rules, but then also the job you're doing is at a plant, and they got their plant rules.
Right.
And you got these 3 sets of regs to play with, and you probably have to go with the most strict one at that
Right.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so then,
That's a pretty good analogy, Aaron.
Thank you, sir.
Wait, we
And
come
then
up with that on the fly.
right, and then it kept coming down. As you come down the Air Force levels, you have, so at the Air Force level, you have an instruction, and then at the command level, you have an instruction, and then at the base level, you have an instruction, and all
Wow.
of those you can add to it, but you can't take away from it
Man.
as it goes down. So as you can imagine, by the time it gets to my level at the safety office for the base,
Right.
it is much bigger than it should be.
So do you have anything that was like an example that was more strict there than would be like now out in the civilian world now that you work
It's like
out?
California OSHA.
Right.
Versus
So like,
federal OSHA.
like, is there a specific reg that you're just like, man, this one was,
This is easy out here.
yeah, this one was super hard. Like every time we had to use a ladder, we had to get a lift and create an anchor point and bring down a 30-foot
So-
retractable.
One of the things, not necessarily in that sense,
Mhm.
but one of the things that we did do is every injuries we call mishaps.
Okay.
Mishap.
Right. So we have incidents, accidents. It's all called a mishap. Whether
Right.
it's
Okay.
no matter what it is, and that is for
I can get
facility
behind that.
damage, personal injuries, or anything that caused property damage.
Okay.
Sure.
So then those mishaps were all broken down. They were broken down into 4 different classes.
Mm-hmm.
So
Being stupid. Was that one of it?
no,
Yes.
no, we can't use that word.
Okay, idiot.
No, those don't work either. So, as much as I'd like to, sometimes that's not the correct terminology. So, what you have in the civilian world is either recordable
Okay.
Okay.
and reportable.
Right.
In the Air Force, we use terms like reportable or not reportable.
Okay.
So, if it met the classifications greater than first aid, then it was reportable in our system.
Who do you report to?
So we reported that into a web-based system
Okay.
that listed everything that is required for reporting, and that went to the higher headquarters for safety.
Right.
So
Okay.
every base in the Air Force is doing this and putting it together because the Air Force is looked at as a corporation.
Okay.
I mean, that makes
As
sense.
far as OSHA goes. So if there's a finding at one base and they find it at another base, it's a repeat.
Right. Ooh.
So that made it really tough.
That does.
But-
Yeah.
But the Air Force,
It's
the
huge.
headquarters Air Force, reported all of those mishaps up to OSHA at one time.
Oh, really?
So it all went in. It was in this computer database, and headquarters Air Force took care of that.
Does OSHA mess with DOD, like Air Force stuff like that? Can
So,
they, like,
yeah,
come do
OSHA
an inspection.
OSHA
and-
can show up and do inspections, and I've been a part of a few of those.
Wow. They can't find themselves though, right?
They can no. So the
because it's all
military
government.
bases they don't get fined, but they do receive citations.
What's the incentive if it's not a payment penalty to comply with OSHA if you're military, or is there not one?
Well, you have all the standards and regulations that say that you have to.
Right. So they're just doing it out
So
of the
then-
good of rule following because you can't get hit with a $130,000 repeat.
Right.
So they just do it because it's the right thing to do.
So it's an image thing.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it looks bad on you.
Right.
So when you're a general, or when you're a colonel trying to be a general, and you have that bad mark from OSHA on your record,
Okay.
you may not
yeah.
get there. So then
They should do that in the civilian world.
Leadership is pushing that.
Yeah.
Leadership is pushing that down from the top to get it taken care of. Plus, we have to in the military. You have to, if you get an OSHA citation, you still have to do all of the steps that are required.
Right.
You still have to give a plan to OSHA what you're going to do to correct it.
Right.
So even
then
though
you
you're
have to-
government, you still have to go through full abatement.
And then you still have to give OSHA updates on that until it's completed, until it's abated.
All right.
Do OSHA try to act super tough when they're there, or are they like more chill because it's like same team almost?
I don't.
And it's probably
I think they-
subjective to the person, but
The ones that
Yeah.
I've been a part of, I think they were just doing their job.
that's
They
cool.
were asking the questions, and I think I think it's kind of depends on the people they're
Yeah,
dealing with
yeah.
too. Sometimes when I try to explain to people what I did in the Air Force as a safety professional, I just tell them that I'm kind of like the OSHA inspector of the base.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, kinda.
I've seen people's titles. Like I knew the safety guy for a college, and his title was OSHA compliance officer.
Yeah.
But he wasn't a work
He was
for
an
OSHA.
OSHA compliance officer.
He was the college's OSHA compliance
Yeah,
officer.
to make sure the college was compliant with
Yeah,
OSHA.
yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
So yeah, that the way you put it makes sense. What I've been wondering though is penalties for like soldier or like enlisted person. Like if you caught me breaking a safety rule. See here, it shouldn't be this way. People's policies aren't written this way, but how it goes out here is, say I catch AJ not wearing safety glasses, verbal warning.
Terrible.
I'm supposed to do a written verbal, but I don't.
I quit in shame.
I like the guy. I don't want to bust his chops, so I end up giving him 20 verbals, and then finally a written verbal, and then it's supposed to go to an actual document, and then 3-day suspension up to termination. That's kind of like the penalty system that's common.
That's gonna take years.
Well, that's how they do it out here.
Yeah.
But what about like if you caught a soldier breaking a safety rule? What is your disciplinary action that you could do?
Well, I'm not sure what the soldiers do because they're in the Army.
Okay, sorry. Help me with my terminology.
But the airmen in the Air Force.
Thank you for correcting me. The airmen.
There are disciplinary actions that can be taken.
Okay.
So
do you get to make them do push-ups or what?
no.
So you're doing
So-
you're doing an inspection, doing a walkthrough. You see an airman. Let's start with the easy one. No safety glasses.
Well, the safety office doesn't. Well, to start with, the safety office doesn't get involved with disciplinary action.
Okay. So that would be the chain of command, like whoever their
Right.
superior officer
So
was.
it would be the supervisor who
Okay.
would be doing that.
So then
And
you would report.
We need to do that in the civilian world.
So then it would start
make
with
it their
Make
problem.
the foreman be busting people for safety.
like it.
That would be awesome.
But it would never happen.
So that's cool that the
So
military
it
did
would
that
go
way.
to. So then disciplinary action would go along the lines of a verbal warning, maybe retraining, and then you get a letter of counseling,
Okay.
and then if it still continues, a letter of reprimand,
Okay.
and then all of that is going to affect your performance reports. And
What's the big deal though? Like, say I had a lot of letters of reprimand. How would that affect me as an airman?
well, then you're going to get a lower rating on your performance report.
So it's going
And
to
that's
directly
gonna-
affect my pay.
And that's going to hurt you, not necessarily it could, yes, but it is, if you have that on your records, you're not going to get a rating that's going to help you get promoted.
Okay, so if I'm
Okay.
looking to advance
Right.
and I got a lot of letters of reprimand, that's going to affect me. Say the same person going for or say I had another airman going for another position and they're looking at us and I got a lot of letters of reprimand and they might be more likely to get that
Right.
promotion.
And then if you have that with some other stuff,
Yeah.
then you could be dismissed.
Do you have a brig in the Air Force?
No.
Yeah.
But
Can you be jailed on a base? You got MPs
yeah,
and stuff?
they arrest people and they take them to.
You still have
we
MPs?
yeah.
Is MPs like universal in branches?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, so
in the Air Force, they are security police.
okay,
So
SPs. All right.
SPs.
And
Right.
they could
Sandwich police.
they
Yes.
could they could jail you, but not for safety.
Right.
Okay.
So, coming back to the mishap classes, so
Okay.
it's all broken down into four different categories. So then it's class A, B, C, and D.
Okay.
So like class A would be a death or property damage more than $2 million.
Jeez.
Wow.
Okay.
That's a bad one.
So you blew up a
Right.
plane or you killed somebody.
Yeah, you crash a plane or somebody killed themselves on a motorcycle.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So you got that's
or,
A.
Or they were some other reason that they might have died.
So
That is
mishandled
that
a
is
bomb.
class A.
And
Right.
So then B.
a class B would be. The numbers might be different now, and but at that time I believe it was between $1 million and $2 million of property damage,
wow.
or a permanent disability.
Permanent.
Okay. All right.
So like even if I was just super mangled in that crazy incident, but they were like, "Oh, you're not going to be permanently disabled. Like
Then
you were
it's not a
mangled
B.
up. That's not going to make it to B, huh?"
That's probably a C
So,
then.
well, now that I think about it, it might be permanent disability might be a class A,
Right.
and then permanent partial disability is class B.
Okay.
Okay.
So maybe like a broken bone, it'll
Right.
heal, but how they always say it's never going to be perfect again.
Right.
Right.
So that could, if it was severe, that'd go up to like your B.
So what was a D then?
So then the class C was lost time.
Okay.
Okay, so anything that results in lost time, C. It probably does also have a numerical value to it.
There was a numerical value.
Okay.
I don't remember what that was. It might have been $500,000 to,
And then D would have been like
or
what?
$200,000 to $1 million.
restricted
And
duty.
then the Class D was it could be restricted duty greater than first aid.
Okay.
Now, the other thing that we did was we had to report all mishaps,
Okay.
Right.
What about
Whether-
near misses?
whether it's on duty or off duty.
Ooh, that's different than the civilian world.
Right. We only got to worry about being at work.
Right. So now you're trying to, because military members are considered on duty 24/7.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
So it was really difficult when I first got started in the safety office. We did a lot of mishap reports, and a lot of them, and most of our mishap reports are off duty.
Were they lying and like slip in the shower, but it was really a bar fight and stuff?
I
It
don't.
was really icy in the front porch.
One of the core
stairs
values.
punched me 3 times in the face.
One of the core values is for the Air Force is integrity.
Okay.
So I didn't want to question anybody's integrity.
Okay.
So
Fair enough.
when I interviewed them, I took the story that they gave me and
Right.
I tried to use that the best I could.
Right.
So it wasn't your job to be, interpretive. Of,
Root cause analysis,
Right.
investigation,
we had
hardcore.
we had to find the root causes and stuff, but
But on the
you can only
off-duty
go-
ones, you were kind of loose with.
you can only go by what people tell you.
Yeah, yeah.
Now there are other ways to find out that people are lying without asking them.
Right.
Are you sure about
Are you
that?
sure?
Are
I
you
like
sure
that.
that that's how that happened?
So let's switch gears for a second. I want to talk about the differences between personal protective equipment. Have you found it standard, like the safety glasses you see here in the plant, the hard hat, the air purifying respirators, the chemical protective suits? Is it what they're wearing in the military, or do they get cooler special stuff or worse stuff?
It's no different.
Okay.
It's really no different.
All right.
Safety glasses have to meet ANSI standard Z87.1.
All right.
The hard hat's still just kind of always a hard hat.
A hard hat still has
You
to
don't
be
get a cool
replaced every 5
bulletproof
years.
hard hat or anything?
No. Now,
Missile proof?
when you're in combat, you get a nice little Kevlar helmet that is not very comfortable.
Okay. Yeah, I can imagine that. Probably heavier.
I don't
And
think
then-
I'd care about having a missile-proof hard hat. Like even if I was like a pilot and I ejected, I'd be like, great. Now the missile has to hit me in the head while I'm parachuting down, and I'll be fine.
Now, there are some differences in PPE for air crew. They have different stuff. I didn't really get into that because there is a job specifically for air crew equipment.
Right.
Okay.
So they're taking care of all of that stuff.
So I think OSHA's got a reg on hearing protection. If it's over 120 decibels, you got to wear double. And I'm
Yes.
just thinking about, I don't know the title of them, but the guys waving the planes in.
Right.
Oh, they're like-
Marshallers.
What are they
They
called?
marshal the plane in
They're
and out.
marshaller?
They're like the
Marshal-
guys on the tarmac.
I'm going to be chief of safety marshaller.
Chief of Safety Marshaller.
Yeah, we make up our own titles.
Chief
in the
Marshaller of
civilian
Safety.
world. Yeah.
Safety Chief Marshaller.
I want chief and marshaller in the title.
Safety Chief
But
Marshaller.
I could imagine them jets being over 120 decibels,
Oh,
probably.
man.
Yes.
So, what were those guys doing for hearing protection?
They were wearing double.
They just put their
they'd
hands
have to
over
wear,
their ears.
They have to wear earplugs.
Okay.
In whether it was the foamies or the plastic inserts.
Okay.
And then they would have to have the headset hearing
Okay.
protection.
Yeah,
Nice.
I mean that sounds, pretty important. When I think of military injuries, I'm thinking hearing loss. Like all the vets that I know,
Yeah.
a lot of them struggle with hearing loss.
Yes.
What do you think are some common, and it is probably specific to branch. You could probably break it down, but what about Air Force?
For the Air Force, if you've got the hearing problems, it's probably related to the aircraft
Okay.
or equipment that you worked on. So like when I was working on the ground support equipment, we had a turbine generator.
Oh wow.
So with
Yeah.
that turbine
Turbine
generator,
generator.
yes,
The generator had a turbine in it.
yes,
No, that's misleading.
it
We
did
called
have-
it a turbine generator.
It did
No
have a turbine.
turbine, surprisingly.
So it had a small jet engine.
Wow.
that turned the generator. So that
That's crazy.
That was pretty cool.
How
though.
big was it? Like as big as this table?
the whole unit was maybe as long as this table.
Wow.
Dang.
But it was a small engine. It
Did you have to barricade that thing?
no.
Like,
It sucked
what
the-
if I
wind,
walked
like-
behind it or something? Or
in
so
front
there
of it.
was something on the turbine that prevented it from
okay,
producing thrust.
like
Oh, so I couldn't
Oh.
put like a windmill behind it or anything. I couldn't like
No.
off the breeze that was coming
Okay.
out of it. I
Right.
couldn't get more power.
that's crazy.
So then the exhaust on it, the exhaust stack on it, turned and went straight up.
Okay.
So it was not going to take off. If you put wings on the box, it was not going to go anywhere.
But
So
it was loud though, huh?
it was super loud.
Wow.
The thing turned at 42,000 RPMs.
Ooh.
And then it had a gearbox that reduced that down to 6,000 RPMs for the generator.
Wow.
There you
But
go.
it-
That's about like my Camaro.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But it put out 400 hertz of 120 volts at 400 hertz.
Wow.
So
So you
that's
could
what the
power
aircraft
some
used.
stuff with that. What
The-
what were you powering with that?
The aircraft.
The
You
aircraft
plug it
itself.
into the aircraft, and when it's on the ground,
That's cool.
then that's how the aircraft gets power
Wow.
while it's on the ground.
Very cool.
So
So those are loud, and we'd have to wear double hearing protection with that. But all of our other equipment, diesel engines that had no mufflers and
Right.
wow.
no sound suppression, it is really loud.
So unique safety, like so civilian, machine guarding, lockout, tagout, fall protection, stuff like that. But when I think of the military safety, I think of unique safety issues like getting sucked into a jet engine or falling off a wing of an airplane.
You have that same problem at the airport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that.
So that's not unique.
All right, so there's a civilian side of that. It's not in my safety world, but I don't do airport safety that often.
It is pretty unique to aircraft.
Yeah.
But there is aircraft
So,
in both, I
like,
guess.
I don't think I could open up my OSHA book and find aircraft safety, but you probably had aircraft safety regs.
There were some sections on aircraft safety, but
Okay.
it wasn't necessarily specific to aircraft. There might have been a few things that were
Okay.
specific to aircraft, but fall protection, you still have to have fall protection
How do you tie off to an airplane?
overhead.
Really? So maybe if it's in a hangar or something.
And then some of the aircraft had built-in
Like anchor points right there.
anchor points.
There you go.
would
That'd be
that
handy.
on the
affect
wings or on the-
drag and
on the top.
aerodynamics and stuff?
Well, you take it out, or it was
Okay.
a panel you could like pull out and turn around and
That's pretty cool.
stick it back
Yeah, there
in.
you go.
Airplane anchor.
They built it in. They made it smart.
That's awesome. All right, so we haven't talked about me enough.
They also have these. They also have these suction cup anchors that you could put on there.
So
That,
now
I
all
want to
I'm-
play with that.
All I'm thinking about though is how can I have those things active and tied off while the plane's flying around?
I want some airport or some suction anchors. I want to play with some of those. Cause
Well, yeah, it's
what
gotta
if
be
we
able to
could use
withstand
those?
5,000.
Because one of the issues we struggle with is fall protection anchorage in the civilian setting in real world and construction. And
Yeah.
the more tools you have, good. But no, seriously, I got some personal questions.
Okay.
So my dad was in the Air Force, and he was equipment operator. He built runways. He went all over Europe and stuff like that. So who would have been like over him in safety? Would that have been just his superior officer?
Well, given your age, it might have been before OSHA.
True.
Oh, she was 1970.
Yeah. So,
But that's
but they still probably had safety, like because he would tell me stories about getting bulldozers like caught in quicksand.
Oh,
and
no.
Jumping out, and another dozer would come over and hook on, and they have to pull them out. And I'm hearing this as a kid, so I'm not thinking about any kind of occupational safety stuff. But as an adult thinking about these stories, I'm just wondering, what that was like, if, safety briefings. Hey, today we're building a runway over here. We got some quicksand over here. I mean, safety briefing. Like we do job hazard analysis here in construction. We're going to do this today. Here are the hazards. I just wonder what kind of safety stuff he had back then, or if it was just nothing.
well, I think that the safety in the Air Force and the safety in the military, it's kind of like the civilian safety. Whenever back in the 20s during the Industrial Revolution, we had factory fires, and we
Right.
didn't have fire escapes, and we had
Right.
all these things that set safety in motion before OSHA.
Right.
The same type of thing happened during World War II, where there was a general, his name was Hap Arnold,
Okay.
who realized that we were having too many people get injured on the battlefield,
Okay.
and it wasn't from wartime stuff. A
Oh,
lot of the
jeez.
injuries come from falling out of the jeeps.
Oh wow.
So he's
I would
like-
be so mad.
So then that kind of set forward the beginning of safety in the Air Force.
That's pretty cool.
Even before OSHA was a thing, and it just kind of it got built from there. So I
Right.
don't know what time frame
Right.
that your father was served,
Right.
but at some point in there, he was probably exposed to some safety stuff.
Right.
But
yeah.
But it's still, for the most part, until
It was
OSHA,
after World War II.
until
Because he was born right when World War II started. He was born like 42 or something.
so then between World War II and OSHA, it was kind of like the Wild Wild West, where you're still trying to figure out what
Right. Right.
safety and how it works and what you can do, and then OSHA says this is what we're going to do.
Okay.
But all of that, when OSHA was established in 1970, a lot of stuff that OSHA established in 1970 had been in the works for many, many years prior
Right.
to that.
Right. So let's talk about you, specifically your transition from military safety to civilian. Did you just like not miss a beat? Was it like, I totally understand this, no problem? Was there a learning curve? Was there terminology issues? What was that experience like for you?
Well, so I got out of the Air Force in 2019.
Thank you for your
And-
service, by the way.
You're welcome. And prior to moving to this area, there were tons of safety manager jobs available. And then when I got here, there were none.
Okay.
Oh no.
So,
Welcome to Siouxland, sir.
I did apply for a job out in Yankton, and I thought the interview went really well.
Right.
But I was working with a recruiter. I came out early before moving out here to do the interview, and they ended up picking somebody else.
Okay.
And from talking to the recruiter, they picked somebody who they could pay less.
Oh,
Because
wow.
they already had a safety manager.
Okay.
This was for a safety specialist position. So I just wanted to get my foot in the door. I wanted to
Right,
get a
right.
job. I wanted to be, at least something.
Right.
So I was trying to do anything and everything that I could to find a job. And so I did apply for a few safety manager positions, and I didn't get them. So I had some vacation time saved up. So from the time I moved here to the time my retirement date, I had a few months.
Okay.
There you go.
So, but as that time got closer, when I didn't have a job, I didn't have an income, I was getting more and more stressed.
Oh yeah.
So I applied for a PSM and environmental position,
Nice.
and I didn't have any real PSM or environmental experience.
Probably not a lot of process safety management in the Air Force. You're not moving around
Right.
lots
So
of chemicals.
We do have that.
I mean,
so
you
there
got jet
are
fuel and stuff.
there are
Yeah,
some
that's where my
bases.
brain went.
Yeah, but jet fuel isn't on the highly hazardous list.
Really? It's so crazy.
But the F-16s do use a chemical called hydrazine to put
Okay.
out fires,
Okay.
and that is on the list.
Okay.
So if
But I
you
suppose
have,
you didn't have to have like too much of it.
so you don't have to have PSM unless you exceed the threshold quantity
Mm-hmm.
on the highly hazardous list from OSHA.
And I
for
can't
that
remember what
chemical.
it was. 10,000 gallons, 10,000
Well, it
pounds.
depends. I think
It
some
depends-
chemicals have different.
Depends on the chemical.
Okay.
Yeah, they have a
For
different.
hydrazine,
quality.
it's like 400 pounds.
Wow.
For ammonia, it's 10,000 pounds.
Right.
Okay, that's where I'm thinking
So
10,000.
so it's different based on every
Right,
chemical
right.
is different.
Okay.
Depending on its hazards. So I applied for this job, and somehow they gave it. I got it. And
Nice.
They gave it to me. So I've been doing that for almost 2 years,
Nice.
and it's been great. But I didn't. The training and the education that I have, I want to be in a safety manager position.
Yeah, for sure. So that was probably a learning curve because it wasn't your specialty. Like for me
Yeah.
too, if I got a job as a PSM coordinator, it would be a learning curve for me.
Right.
I've read the regs. I've taught a couple awareness level courses
Right,
on
we dabble in it.
PSM. Yeah, but to be a specialist in it, that would be a learning curve for me as well.
Mm-hmm.
Have you felt like people you're interviewing with, there's a disconnect? Like, are they downplaying your safety experience from the Air Force because they don't understand it? You know, have you felt that at all?
I don't know that I've felt that specifically. What I try to do is I try to relate my experience to positions that we have in the civilian world.
Right.
So, like, if I'm working if I'm trying to get a job at a place who has several different sections, then
Right.
each one of those has a director.
Right.
Right. So then, or each one has a superintendent or a supervisor. I try to use those terms instead
Right.
of chief of safety,
Yeah.
general,
Which is still an awesome title.
Yeah.
Right.
I like that.
So I try to use those terms, and then
Right.
or instead of flight chief and unit safety representative, and then there's so many acronyms that I could use that I refrain from.
Right.
Because people aren't going to understand them or know what it is.
If I was interviewing you, I would be ignorant on Air Force safety and how close it would go in tune with civilian safety. So I would ask a bunch of questions, but I have to you, and I've talked to you, and I have realized from talking to you how it is the same. So once I got that understanding, if I was interviewing you, you say you were in the safety wing for 9 years.
Yes.
So that's the upper echelon of safety for the government for 9 years. And how many people were you responsible for, you think?
So at my last base, which by the way was Hanscom.
There you
Air
go.
Force
He's
Base.
familiar
Base.
with it.
I got some stuff to tell you about that when you're done.
So my last duty station was Hanscom Air Force Base, and I had 5 people working for me,
Okay, that's awesome.
or
That's big time when you got 5 people under
but
you in
then-
the safety world.
Yeah, that's actually a lot of safety
Yeah.
people.
so then, but our base was responsible for the safety of 10,000 people.
What?
Mm.
That's like a little city.
Hanscom Air
Yes.
Force Base is legit, dude.
So and
Yeah.
that's the thing, like an Air Force base, it basically is a little city.
Yeah.
So like a municipality job, like you get that. Like you already understand like being over a huge complex with multiple divisions. Like
Right.
that's already
So-
like normal for you.
Right. So I had, so at my last base, we had 226 work centers that we were responsible for,
226 work centers, like different locations doing different functions.
different shops,
That's-
different
that's
offices,
insane.
different. Yeah.
Wow.
I almost feel like one guy with 5 people
And
under
there-
him, that would still be hard.
And there was, several buildings. There's probably at least 50 buildings on the base. I never counted them, but
Wow.
there was
Jeez.
a lot of buildings.
Making sure each one's got fire extinguishers and
Right. Yeah, and making sure that they have their plans and their
Wow.
policies.
I am related to the Lawrence G. Hanscom, for which Hanscom Air Force Base is named after, by the way.
That's cool.
Also, we have the same birthday,
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, fancy.
right? Crazy.
So, and then those work centers were spread out over a 7-state region.
Wow. So there's a lot of companies who hire safety people, and they have we have several clients like this. They got an office in Des Moines,
Yeah.
Omaha, Lincoln.
Lincoln.
They're like
Clear Lake.
spread out all over the place. So and I know a lot of plants too. Your office may be in this plant in Sioux City, but they also have a plant in this city. So you would already just like understand that automatically, no learning curve, because to you it was different work sites.
Now, no matter where you go, I think there's going to be a learning curve.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
There's going to be some different terminology. There's going to
Right.
be so the policies that you have in one place is not going to be the same as what you have in another place.
Right.
So, but everything's going to be based on OSHA, and
Right.
everything that I've done in my safety career has been based on OSHA.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. So so there's a lot of similarities with what you were doing with the type of safety manager jobs that are out here.
Right. One thing that is one big difference is that the safety office didn't do all of it. So we had
Okay.
some of the pieces, the parts and pieces that are in civilian safety were broken up into different offices.
Okay.
So like industrial hygiene.
Right.
The safety people, a lot of safety people don't know anything about industrial hygiene. That is a huge thing on its own.
It's a whole
Okay.
beast.
Yeah, it's a big beast. So we had an office that was called bioenvironmental,
Bioenvironmental.
Okay.
and they were basically, that's just a fancy word for saying industrial hygienist.
That's AJ's
Okay.
nickname. Bioenvironmental.
Bioenvironmental. That's a long nickname. I go from 2 letters to bioenvironmental. I'm used to that.
So, and then for environmental, we had our own office who did environmental.
Okay.
And then we had a public health office who did public health stuff.
Okay.
Public or like airmen?
Well,
Or-
it was airmen. It was
Okay.
It was
So
on
it's
the-
like your
it was on
OC
the
health,
base.
basically?
Yeah.
Okay,
occupational
I
health.
got you.
There you go.
But their title was public health. So, but the 4 of us, we all worked really close together.
That's pretty cool.
And so I know a little bit about industrial hygiene. I know
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
bit about occupational health. I know a little bit about environmental. But my strong point is safety.
Right.
But with my background and having that knowledge of those, it's pretty easy for me to find that information.
Right.
I know where to go to get the information, and being able, being in the Air Force and moving around from base to base and being in different offices and different locations and working with different people,
Right.
I've kind of gained the skills to be able to move from one topic to another pretty quickly.
Sure.
And also, it forces you to become a quick learner.
And that's important because, on the civilian side, they love the term EHS coordinator,
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, what is this? When I first started, EHS. Oh, you're an EHS? And then environmental, health, and safety. So they throw environmental at safety people all the time. They throw health at safety people all the time. So to me, like, you're big time as a company when you can hire a full-time safety person.
Right.
Then you've reached the big leagues when you could break them up like what you're talking about. I have been in corporations where they do have an environmental only, a safety only, someone who does industrial. And they're big time when they start breaking it out. And, oh, I don't do that. I'm environmental. That's safety.
Right.
But so that's pretty cool that you could transition to both. And then knowing how to do them all really helps because they always people don't understand safety a lot of times, so they just throw miscellaneous things at you, expecting
yeah.
you to know it. Like, oh, yeah, you should be great with the EPA because you're a safety guy. It's like, no, I'm pretty good with OSHA.
Right.
If you ever go onto the EPA website
Right.
and try to find anything, good luck.
Oh, you should be great with this medical thing because you're in safety. It's like, I'm good with OSHA.
Yeah, they throw a lot of safety.
Yeah, they throw a lot. So we got to be quick on our feet and quick learners.
Yeah.
Well, believe it or not, guys, an hour has flown by. So
does. It goes quick.
I want to thank our very special guest, Mr. Ross Weatherford.
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 I said it right?
Right.
And not Weatherford.
Weatherford?
It's
And
Weatherford.
His Ford F1 Furfter.
Just like your AJ Hanscom.
Yes.
Wow.
Not
We did-
Hanscom.
Well, there's
Because I got your name wrong for a while, a couple months.
everybody says it wrong for like
Hanscom.
ever.
It's Hanscom.
Or Hanscom.
And you got to say it fast. Hanscom.
Hanscom.
And my name, we won't even go
Wow.
there today.
It's been an
Team,
hour
you know.
already?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes,
we
sir.
didn't even get into my credentials or qualifications.
Oh, man.
There you go.
But I think people got an idea. I mean, 9 years in the safety wing for the Air Force. We respond for thousands of people, 256 locations. That's a hardcore safety job.
Well, the thing I like, safety doesn't change. Safety is safety.
Yeah.
So even if you're in the military, man, PPE is PPE, training's training.
Yeah.
So that was cool. That's actually something
Yeah.
great that, if I got somebody come out of the military and they're telling me, yeah, I got safety in the military.
Yeah.
Now I'm not going to look at them sideways being like, all right, so what does that mean? I'm going
Yeah.
to be like, all right, so we should be speaking the same language.
Yeah, definitely.
That's cool.
So we thank you for joining us today. Really enjoyed learning about military safety. Really opened my eyes to super big. That's big boy safety jobs right there. It makes being like a safety guy out here for like a local contractor like easy compared to that. So yeah, you were in the big league. So thanks for coming on the show today. For Mr. AJ Hanscom and Aaron Icino, we are the Evil Safety Dudes. Until next time, everybody, stay safe.